everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends 6-inch Classic Taskmaster figure from Hasbro. Now this figure comes packaged in the same style that we've been seeing with all the Marvel Legends. Up at the top you've got the Legends series logo with the figure clearly displayed in the window box. Down below you've got the Avengers logo, since this is part of an Avengers themed wave, and then you've got the name of the character. On the sides of the packaging you just have some artwork for Taskmaster, and then on the back of the packaging you have a look at the actual figure, a brief bio in multiple languages, and then down below a look at all the figures in the wave that you need to get in order to complete the Thanos Marvel Cinematic Universe Build-A-Figure. Alright, let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside the packaging along with the other contents. Now first of all, this figure comes with the right leg for the Thanos Build-A-Figure, and I'll be taking a look at Thanos in its own review once I've looked at all the figures in this wave, so be sure to check back for that. Now for accessories we get Taskmaster's shield, and this is the same kind of shield we saw with the previous Taskmaster figure, though it is a little bit different paint scheme, and I actually kind of like the shield we got with the previous Taskmaster better, but with this one you've got white, and then you've got a darker blue, and then you've got the orange colored T, and then the underside is just white. So with the other one it was more of a silver, and then a more yellow T, and then on the underside it was basically dark navy. I kind of like this one better because I like that the underside was a dark navy as opposed to this white color. But it is the same thing as far as the little clip like we always see with shields in the Marvel Legend line. You can either clip it onto the figure's wrist with the clip, or you can push it down and you've got the peg so that you can plug it into the figure's back. Besides that, we also get a sword. We've seen this sword before with other figures. You've got the metallic silver for the blade, and then you've just got a gold plastic for the handle, and then we've also got a pistol. Again, we've seen this with other Marvel Legend figures, and this one is done with a gold plastic as opposed to black or other colors that we've seen it done with in the past. Now with the pistol they do give you a holster on the right leg that you can put the pistol in. Unfortunately for the sword they do not give you a sword sheath. You can stick it kind of in the figures through the figure's cape there on the back if you want to store it there, but it would have been nice if they'd given us a sheath. Also, weapons that are missing that the classic Taskmaster was known for using is a bow and arrow and Daredevil's billy club type weapons, so none of those were included with this figure. You do get a cape, which is a separate piece on the figure, so you can actually pop the head off and take the cape off if you want, and it's done with that kind of hard plastic with the white on the one side and orange on the other. And I think it does hang pretty well on the figure, so I do like the cape. But it would have been nice if they'd given us the other weapons, or at the very least a sheath for the sword. Now the figure does have a hole on the back, so you could plug the shield in there. However, when you have the cape on, you're not going to be able to plug the shield in there. It's not going to fit. So you either have to have the cape on, or you can plug the shield on the back, but you can't do both. Okay, so for the figure itself, starting with the head sculpt. Now this is a different head sculpt than what we saw with the previous Taskmaster figure. It's got a skull type face, and you've got the hood, which is a separate piece, though it's glued onto the head so you can't actually remove it from the head sculpt. And the hood is made with a rubber type material. It's not the same hood that we saw with the previous one. I don't think. Maybe it is. Maybe it's the same hood. It's hard to tell. Very similar, if not exactly. It's just that this one looks like it opens up a little bit wider, but that just may be that the plastic is stretched differently. But very similar looking to the hood that was on the previous Taskmaster figure. It's a brighter white color though than on that previous figure. And then again you've got the skull face as opposed to the metal skull face like we saw in that previous one. And I like the detailing overall. I think it works pretty well, especially when you've got the cape on the figure. Now for the figure itself, this is just a return of our good friend the Bucky Cap mold, and basically it uses the same parts like we see here with US Agent, same hands and gloves, same feet and everything as the US Agent figure. It is a different belt and then you've got the gun holster, and then you've got this extra strap here on the left leg, which is a separate piece, so it does suffer from that same kind of problem like we see with other figures like the Jim Lee Cyclops, where this will tend to fall down on the figure's leg. I don't know why they don't glue these things on the figures, but as it is, it's kind of a pain because it just kind of falls down like that. But overall, you know, I think even though it is just a reuse of the Bucky cap mold, I think the figure does look pretty good. I like the belt with the belt buckle. You've got the Taskmaster belt buckle with the black and the metallic gold, so I think that looks pretty good. And I like the pouches. And overall, like I said, I think the figure looks pretty good. You've got navy blue throughout most of the figure, and then you've got the bright white on the gloves and the boots and the hood, and you've got the white stripe on his chest with the orange, and then you've got the orange on the lower arms here going down to the gloves. Now for me, I never liked the modern Taskmaster because I thought it was missing the cape. I think it looks better with the cape. I know in the comics he didn't actually wear a cape when he had this outfit, but I think the figure itself looks better when you add the cape. So if you do want to take the cape from the new classic Taskmaster and put it on this modern figure, it does work pretty well. The white of the cape is a little bit brighter than the white of the hood, but still overall I think it does look good. And also, if you like that metal skull face better than the bone skull face, you can take the head sculpt from the modern Taskmaster and put it on this classic figure. So Taskmaster here stands about 6.5 inches tall. And here's a comparison with Hasbro's modern Taskmaster with the modern head sculpt on, along with the classic Taskmaster. Here's a comparison of the old Toy Biz classic Taskmaster with Hasbro's new classic Taskmaster. And if you have that old Toy Biz classic Taskmaster figure and you want to use the sword sheath that came with that figure, it will actually fit on this figure. It's not a perfect fit, but you can see I've got it on there, and it'll even fit the new sword if you want to use that one. Now one thing I want to note, I mentioned before that I didn't think the hood was meant to be removable, but as I've been posing the figure and turning the head and stuff, the hood has actually ended up coming off. I don't know, again, if it's meant to come off. You've got these indents on the top of the head, so it definitely looks funny if you take the hood off. It may be the glue just kind of wore off and it popped off as I was posing it, but as it is, if you really wanted to get the hood off, it shouldn't be terribly difficult. Now for articulation, you can turn the head to the left and to the right, and because the hood is not attached to the cape does not affect the head turning at all. You can also actually have him look down pretty good, and then he can also look up pretty good as well, even with the hood and the cape on. You get some gappage between the hood and the cape, so that allows you to have him look up pretty good. You don't get any kind of head pivot with this one. Arms attached with your standard ball hinge joint there at the shoulder, so you can get the arm out about that much, and then he's got good rotation there at the arm. You get some clicky noise. You've got a bicep swivel. You've got a double hinged elbow, so good bending there at the elbow. You've got rotation at the wrist, and then hinges on the hand, so up and down movement there. He's got an ab crunch type joint, so he can crunch down pretty good, and then he can look back pretty good. The cape does limit some of the back movement, but if you take the cape off, then he can look back really good. And then you've got a waist swivel. The legs, he can do the splits that much, and then you can get the leg forward about that much, and then you can do the leg kind of out and back. You've got a thigh swivel. You've got a double jointed knee, so good bending there at the knee, and then you've got a boot cuff swivel and hinges on the feet, so up and down movement with the feet, and you do have ankle pivot. And just one more thing I want to note on this hood, I definitely think it's better if you keep the hood attached, don't pull it off, and if it does come off, you might even want to just use some glue to keep it attached, because once it comes off, it starts kind of plopping around when you move the figure and stuff, so it's really more of a hindrance than anything. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I like this figure. I was definitely happy when I heard Hasbro announce they were doing a classic Taskmaster. I was not terribly fond of the modern one they gave us a while ago, mainly just because this has always been my favorite version, the classic version. It does incorporate that Bucky cap mold, but I think it works pretty well for this character. I also like the way the head sculpt looks with the hood and the cape. My only minor complaint comes with the accessories. It would have been nice if they'd given us a sheath for the sword, also maybe a few extra weapons like a bow and arrow or billy club. Those are signature weapons he was known to use after mimicking the abilities of the like of Daredevil and Hawkeye. As it is though, if you're a fan of the Classic Taskmaster, I think you'll definitely want to add this one to your collection. Now this figure, along with the rest of the wave, has started to see a limited release here in the United States. I've seen reports of people finding them at places like Walgreens. We'll have a full image gallery up at marvelousnews.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. Also, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below. I'd really appreciate it. You can also follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. I have links to those in the video description as well. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you later.